Right, so for some reason the video ended. I must have pressed end by mistake. I hope you've got all of that. We'll check later. Right, so from here, we'll just put in new pads. So we've got some on the tokens. So yeah, the pads on both sides, so both sets of tokens, so all 8 tokens get pads, and the 4 underneath, because they're the closest to the CPU and GPU, have got heat reflective tape on it, which is looks like foil, and it's adhesive. And the reason we put that on there is we want the heat to reflect off of there onto the pads, and any excess heat is going to come onto these tokens because heat rises, and then these tokens are going to dissipate the heat through the pads onto the actual metal casing as well. So I put 3 pads there. You can actually use as well the pads that you took off. So if you've run out of pads, or you want to recycle, you can definitely use those, because we're only using it for pressure, not for heat distribution. Oh yeah, and then the other nearly forgot, we've got pads here as well. These are normally quite small. You can actually put these larger ones on. They do sort of slot in. If it's over a capacitor, don't worry, or a little, it's not going to do it any harm. So right, so I'm just going to put all this back together, and then I'll see you for final testing. Just realised I hadn't shown you anything about the fan. So this you do want to clean out. So just a wipe that's soaked in IPA. And then with this, what I tend to do is put the cloth through, which is soaked in IPA, and then just pull it through like that. So yeah, and you just do that between all of the fins, so you have it all nice and clean. Right, I'll see you in a bit. Right, I just wanted to show you what we've done at this stage. All we've done is put it back together for testing. There are some screws around this which you can just take off. In this case it was just 3 screws, and then it just lifts off. This whole thing just lifts off, and what that does, it gives you a power supply that's not going to overheat as much, and as it's sitting on top of the CPU, less heat is generated, and therefore you're going to get better heat distribution throughout the unit. Right, okay, so I'm just going to power this up, and when I get to the page for test, we'll reconvene and see if we get any difference in temps. See you in a bit. Right, so for the remaining part of the video, we're going to be looking now at the temperatures. So yeah, we cast our mind back to what they were before. I think we found that the CPU and the RSX were in the 60s. I think it's like 63. The CPU at one point, I don't know if it's on camera, was like on 67. RSX was on like 64, 65. When I deleted the RSX, I saw pretty much what I always see, which is not a problem with the RSX at all. Which means, I mean, 9 times out of 10 you just don't need to delete it, but because the temps were like mid-60s, I will do it. If the temps were below 60 I wouldn't, but if it's mid-60s, late 60s, early 70s, then yeah, it's worth it. Just in case, you know, we may see an improvement, we may not. Now the CPU I know we're going to improve on, and that's purely because I've done this repasting and the modification with the heat, with the actual pressure on the motherboard to the CPU, and yeah, that works basically. It works nearly every time, which is such a simple modification. You just put some heat pads, make sure they're about 6 to 7 mils, because when you push it down you reach the 4 mil that you need on the pressure. But yeah, this is looking like it's running fine. I have it on 40% fan speed for a resourceful game. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. The CPU is now on 53, RSX is around 60, so that's not bad.